Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we need to pause. With solemn hearts, really, to acknowledge a significant loss, one that's been felt around the world. We, as part of the Urban Herald team, are dedicating this deep dive to remembering a truly remarkable man, Frank Caprio. He was the former chief judge of the Municipal Court of Providence, Rhode Island. Judge Caprio passed away peacefully on August 20th, 2025. He was 88. This came after a very courageous battle with pancreatic cancer. To millions, literally millions across the globe, he was known simply as the nicest judge in the world. And it wasn't just a nickname, was it? He earned it by fundamentally changing how we think about compassionate justice. His passing, it really marks the end of an era. The void he leaves, it's going to be deeply felt, not just by his family, his community, but by, well, countless admirers everywhere who saw hope in humanity as courtroom.
Yes, it really is an honor to focus on Judge Caprio today. He wasn't just, a judge. He was something more. He genuinely shifted how the world saw the justice system. He proved that justice can prioritize compassion, like human connection, maybe even over just the strict letter of the law sometimes. So today we'll journey through his incredible life, look at the legacy he leaves behind, a legacy built on empathy, a sort of gentle humor, and this unwavering belief in basic human goodness. We really want to unpack the philosophy that guided him for nearly 4 decades on the bench and the impact, the profound impact it had.
Absolutely. And to really get that philosophy, the unique approach he had, we should probably start at the beginning, his early life. Frank Caprio was born November 24th, 1936, right there in Providence, in the Federal Hill neighborhood, a very vibrant Italian-American community. His parents, Antonio, an immigrant from Italy who worked as a fruit peddler, a milkman, and Filomena, his mother, a Providence native whose family was from Naples. How did that background, that upbringing, how did it instill the values that we saw later in his courtroom?
Oh, profoundly. His working class roots were absolutely formative. They really shaped the deep empathy that became, the cornerstone of his judicial style. Antonio and Filomena, they instilled those bedrock values. The dignity of hard work, absolutely. The power of education. And maybe most importantly, real compassion for others. Frank knew the struggles of ordinary people because he lived them. You mentioned his father's work, but Frank himself worked as a dishwasher, a shoe shiner. These weren't just jobs. They were lessons in what it takes to make ends meet, the reality of honest work, the quiet struggles many families face. That firsthand experience, it gave him this unique perspective on the defendants who came before him later. It grounded his empathy in reality. And you also see his drive in his school years, academic success, athletic success too, at Central High, state wrestling champ in '53, then Providence College. It all points to this commitment, this discipline.
Right. And that commitment, it didn't stop with college. He started teaching American government at Hope High School in Providence. That itself says something about his civic engagement, right? But even while teaching, he was driven towards law. He went to Suffolk University School of Law in Boston at night. That's incredible dedication. Can you talk about that period, juggling teaching, law school, and he was also in the Rhode Island Army National Guard from '54 to '62. How did all that forge his sense of duty?
It really cemented it, didn't it? It wasn't just about personal ambition. It showed this deep belief in participating, in making a difference. Teaching American government, he's already explaining the very systems he'd later work within, and arguably try to improve. Then studying law at night after a full day teaching, that shows incredible drive. A drive likely born from seeing maybe some of the inequities in society and wanting the tools to address them. And his National Guard service, reaching the rank of captain before his honorable discharge, it just underscores that sense of duty, of service beyond himself. All these threads, they weave together. They built a public servant who understood both the ideals of justice and the often difficult realities people face.
So, that path into public service really took concrete shape in 1962. He was elected to the Providence City Council, served there until '68. What kind of experience would that have given him? That real ground-level understanding of community issues?
Oh, absolutely crucial. City council isn't remote. You're dealing directly with constituents, with their everyday problems, zoning, local services, ordinances. It gives you this incredibly granular view of how local government, how local laws impact people's lives. Things like parking rules, sanitation, local safety concerns. He would have seen firsthand the diverse challenges people faced in his own community. That kind of close interaction, it undoubtedly deepened his practical understanding of governance and fueled that pragmatic empathy we saw later.
And then he aimed higher. He ran for Attorney General of Rhode Island in 1970. He didn't win, got about 43% of the vote. But how did that campaign and his later political work delegate to the State Constitutional Convention in '75, 5 Democratic National Conventions? How did that build his reputation?
Right. Even though he lost the AG race, it significantly raised his profile. It showed him as a principled advocate for justice on a wider stage. He articulated a vision, and it clearly resonated with a lot of people. His continued involvement, especially the Constitutional Convention, that shows he was serious about shaping the legal framework itself. And attending 5 DNCs, that's not just showing up. It signals a real commitment to influencing policy at a higher level, advocating for those working-class values he grew up with, making sure everyday voices were part of the conversation. It shows a consistent, deep dedication to public service, not just holding one office.
And all this experience, this dedication, it led him to the role that would truly define his legacy. From 1985 all the way to 2023, that's 38 years, Frank Caprio served as the chief judge of the Providence Municipal Court. This is really where his unique approach started to change things, started to change how millions saw what a courtroom could be.
Exactly. And it's worth pausing to think about what municipal courts are often like, to grasp how different he was. Usually these courts are under immense pressure. Get through the cases, clear the docket. Efficiency is key. Sometimes they're seen almost as revenue sources for the city. Fines are expected. Defendants can feel like numbers facing a system that feels impersonal, maybe even intimidating. High volume, often quite rigid. That's the typical context. And into that system steps Judge Caprio, who didn't just process cases. He started reshaping the very idea of justice within it.
That's really important context. So if the norm is efficiency, rigidity, what did his compassion actually look like day to day in that courtroom? How did he balance upholding the law with treating everyone like a human being?
That was his gift, wasn't it? He didn't ignore the law, but he deeply understood that justice needs empathy to be truly just. So in practice, well, he often dismissed tickets for people who were clearly struggling financially. He recognized that a $50 parking fine might seem small, but for someone barely making ends meet, it could be devastating. A real hardship. It wasn't about being soft. It was about understanding the disproportionate impact these fines have on vulnerable people, how they can trap people in cycles of debt. He used his judicial discretion to prevent that. He actually said his courtroom was where people and cases are met with kindness and compassion. That was his stated goal. And beyond the fines, he just had this knack, this gentle humor that could instantly put nervous people at ease. Whether it was an elderly person confused by a meter or a young person who made a mistake, he made the courtroom less scary, more human.
So he wasn't just judging. He was often giving second chances, offering that human connection in a place often seen as cold. He turned the courtroom, in a way, from a place of potential fear into, well, maybe a sanctuary sometimes, turning traffic tickets into moments of understanding. But how did this very local approach, this Providence courtroom, become known worldwide?
Right, that's the next chapter. His unique style, honed right there in Providence, eventually captivated people far beyond Rhode Island, and that was largely thanks to one show, Caught in Providence.
Ah, yes, Caught in Providence. The show that brought his courtroom to the world, it started pretty small, didn't it? Local access TV, WLNE in Rhode Island back in 2000. Late Saturday nights. It just showed real proceedings, real interactions. What was it about that show that just took off, especially when social media got involved?
Social media was the amplifier, absolutely. The show came back in 2015 after a break, and then clips just started exploding online in the 2010s. I think many people remember that famous one, the parking ticket issued just 2 seconds before parking was legal. It went completely viral. What made it so compelling wasn't drama or conflict like you see on other court shows. It was the opposite. It was the authenticity, the raw humanity. You were seeing genuine kindness, real understanding in a place you just didn't expect it. It was refreshing, different. It showed compassion in action within the system.
And the numbers really show that global appeal. The Caught in Providence YouTube channel ended up with, what, almost 3 million subscribers? 2.92 million. Individual videos getting tens of millions of views. One had over 43 million views. Collectively, the clips got over 800 million views. That's staggering. And by 2018, it was nationally syndicated, roughly 200 stations across the U.S. So his message really did reach all of America and well beyond.
And Caprio himself knew why it resonated. He said, and I'm quoting here, "We differ from other court shows because we present real proceedings as they happen. Everything unfolds spontaneously." That commitment to reality, to authenticity, that was the key. It let millions see for themselves that, yes, you can have authority and humanity in a courtroom. It challenged stereotypes. It wasn't just entertainment. It was, in a way, educational. It showed the power of empathy in public service. His straightforward, real approach just connected with people.
And beyond the bench, beyond the show, he was deeply rooted in his personal life, his community. He's survived by his wife, Joyce, 5 children, 7 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren. His family described him as a devoted husband, father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and friend. That personal connection seems so central to who he was. How did that intertwine with his public life?
Absolutely central. That deep family connection surely fueled his understanding of everyday struggles, the importance of community, the desire to help. But his commitment went beyond his immediate family and the court. He chaired the Rhode Island Board of Governors for Higher Education. That's a major role, overseeing the state's public universities and college. Think about that, ensuring access to education, something clearly vital to him given his own journey from a working-class background. He wanted those doors open for others. And he stayed connected locally in other ways, too, like becoming a partner in the Coast Guard House restaurant in Narragansett. It just shows his deep roots, his ongoing support for his community's well-being.
What's also striking is how he used that unexpected fame. Not just for the show, but for advocacy, real advocacy for justice reform, especially around the issue of unequal access to lawyers. He pointed out that the Pledge of Allegiance says justice for all, but as he put it, that is not the case. He highlighted that something like 90% of low-income Americans face civil legal problems, housing, healthcare, benefits, even traffic stuff, without any legal help. How did he push for change there?
Yeah, this really shows his depth. He saw the individual struggles in his court, but he also recognized the systemic problems behind them. His platform gave him a powerful voice, and he used it responsibly. He didn't just practice compassion. He advocated for policies that would make the system itself more compassionate, more equitable. He actively pushed for more funding for legal aid, for public defenders. He argued that a fair fight requires equal representation. You can't have justice if only one side can afford a lawyer. He also spoke about reforming fines and fees, pushing for alternatives that don't just punish poverty. He used his visibility to talk to lawmakers, to raise public awareness, trying to make real, tangible changes to the legal system. He extended his compassion from the bench to the blueprint of the system itself.
And his thoughts, his philosophy were also captured in writing. Just months before he passed, February 4th, 2025, his book came out, Compassion in the Court, The Timing. It feels incredibly poignant now, like a final testament.
It really does. And what's so moving is how his final public message seemed to echo that book and his whole life. Just days before he died, he posted an inspirational message, apparently self-created. A life built on kindness is a life that echoes long after we're gone. How prophetic that turned out to be. The global reaction to his passing was immense. Major news outlets everywhere, BBC, Time, Washington Post, CNN, CBS, New York Times, People, they all covered it. And his social media, with millions of followers, like the 3.4 million on Instagram, it became the spontaneous global memorial, people sharing stories of how he touched their lives. It was a powerful testament to his reach.
His death really does feel like the end of an era, but the way he approached his work, it has to influence future generations in law, right? He showed that compassion and authority aren't opposites, that humor and respect can exist together in court, that sometimes understanding is more just than punishment. You know, hearing his story, it really makes you think, how many other public servants could have that kind of impact just by bringing a bit more of that compassion to their work?
It's so true. It's easy to think of traffic court, municipal court as maybe mundane, but Judge Caprio revealed the profound human dramas playing out there every single day. His real impact isn't just in the TV ratings or the viral views, impressive as they are. It's in the countless people whose lives he touched directly or indirectly, people whose faith in the system might have been restored, even just a little. People inspired to be kinder themselves in a world that often feels, well, cynical, impersonal. He was this beacon of empathy, of understanding. He reminded us of basic human goodness and the real power of compassion in action.
Judge Frank Caprio's journey.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. Son of an immigrant fruit seller in Providence, becomes this global symbol of compassionate justice. His influence really crossed all borders, proving that authenticity, that kindness, it connects with everyone, everywhere. He wasn't just a judge. He bridged law and humanity.
Absolutely. He leaves behind more than just his family and his work. He leaves a model, a template for how public service can be both effective and deeply, profoundly humane. His legacy really challenges all of us, doesn't it? To think about how we can bring more humanity into our own work, our own interactions, whatever they may be. His life proved that even within systems, there's always space for compassion.
So as we reflect on Judge Caprio's remarkable life and as we truly mourn his passing, let's leave you with a thought inspired by his own final words. How might a life built on kindness resonate in your community? How might it echo long after you're gone, just as Judge Caprio's surely will?